Bengals for life. Adina, Ellie. So good to see so many amazing people. What's going on, everybody? It's great. It's great to be back with you all. You know what we're doing here tonight. It's no secret. I mean, this is not the classified documents that Donald Trump tried to steal. The information is public. We are talking to... Oh, boring. Sorry, I got a text. Sorry, I got a text. If you're MAGA, let me know in the chat. I'll bring you up and we can talk and you can tell me why you're MAGA. Why on earth would you vote for Donald Trump? It makes no fucking sense to me. But by the way, we're going to be so calm and patient tonight. You're going to see a completely different... I don't know. We'll see what happens. Don't quote me. All right, if you're MAGA, let me know in the chat. I'll bring you up and we can talk. You can tell me why you're MAGA. What do we got here? So this person is... Yeah, I bet that this person is a troll. But maybe I'll just let them up anyway and see what they have to say. Because I always find it... I never really can believe that somebody has dedicated their account to Donald Trump like this guy. So I automatically think it's a troll. What's going on, man?
All right, so... The reason I voted for Trump is
How old are you, bro?
2005, February 1st. That's my birthday. I voted in the election.
Okay. So go. Speak.
All right. I think that he would make the world a more peaceful place, and his tariffs would make the economy better.
I mean, you have to be trolling when you say such a thing.
Why is that?
No. Oh no. I think this guy's authentic.
I am not trolling.
Oh no. Right. Yeah. I think you are. I think you're trolling. Because no rational person could believe that stupid point. But listen, just get the hell out of here. Just get out of here. You named your whole. Just get out of here. Just get lost. I do always think somebody says do a Carl impression. That guy sounds exactly like him. I totally agree. Remember, only come up in the box if you are MAGA. If you're not MAGA, you didn't vote for Donald Trump, no need to come up here. Only come up if you're MAGA or type MAGA in the chat if you are MAGA. But I always find it funny when they're like, oh yeah, the world would be a more peaceful place if Donald Trump got elected. I mean, if you believe that, I have a bridge to sell you. Maybe I have
Hey, Harry.
Hi. Maybe I have a watch or trading cards to sell you, as Donald Trump basically scammed his followers out of. What's going on, man? You vote for Donald Trump?
Yeah, but I want show me your boobs. I want to lick your tight little asshole and spread it over.
Whoa. Hold on. I just want to point out, brother, your bio says 26 stay-at-home dad. Is that your girlfriend in the thing, bro? Is that your fiance in the thing? Brother, go be with your dude. It's a Saturday night. Go be with your wife or whoever that person is. Whoever you're sick. No. Get out of here, bro. Go be. You're 26 and a stay-at-home dad. Brother, you got kids. Oh my God, dude. You got to figure that shit out, man. You got to figure that shit out. I don't know what world you come from. You got to figure something out for me here. You got to figure something out for me. You got to get real. All right, this guy's been spamming in my live for days that he's MAGA. Like legitimately days. He married his first cousin. Says MZ Thang.
Hey, Harry, how are you?
I'm good, man. How old are you?
Hey, I'm 37.
37. You vote for Donald Trump?
I did vote for Donald Trump.
That sucks.
Well, to be honest with you, I don't think either choice was a great choice. I would hope that in a country as big and prosperous as ours that we could have had two better choices. So to be honest, quite disappointed in it. But I did think that Donald Trump was the better of two choices, just basically judging off of 4 years of Trump versus 4 years of Biden.
Okay. So what led you to vote for Donald Trump based on that comparison you just made?
So several things led me to vote for Donald Trump. First, I am father of two. So I do think that even though you would disagree with me in terms of Trump being a better person, I definitely think he is.
You're fucking with me. You have to be trolling.
No, I'm definitely not trolling with you.
Wait, you think that Donald Trump is a better person than Kamala Harris?
Yes, I do.
Do you think you also think that Donald Trump's a better person than Joe Biden?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Wait, just time out. Let's just start there.
Okay.
Okay.
And,
Why do you think that?
I'm not here to be disrespectful.
That's fine. Why do you think that?
Why do I think that?
Yep.
Just basically policies. Don't believe in abortion. Definitely don't believe in our kids having the choice to make transgender changes at certain ages. It scares me that my kids could go to a school and the teacher could promote them to want to make a change without like parents having control of those kind of conversations. So those types of things do worry me.
People like you really hurt my faith in humanity. Because what you just like, I mean, on the abortion, we can have a conversation about being pro-choice versus pro-life, but the whole like trans topic is so peculiar to me. It's so crazy how you focus on this stuff. Like, do you see? What do you think? How do you think? How many minors do you think have gender affirming surgery in the United States in a given year?
I would say probably 3,000, maybe
3,000 a year.
That would be my guess. Yeah, maybe.
So, do you have a source or anything that backs it up, or is that just a guess?
I don't have a source on me. You just asked me what I thought, and I would guess it would be 3,000. Do you have a source for it?
Yeah, I mean, I can pull up a study for you right now. Okay. But the number is around, I believe it to be like 1,000 that have happened in the past 5 years.
Okay, in the past 5 years. So I would say that number is probably slightly higher.
So no, it's not. It's around that. It's around that. And also, just to be clear, it is illegal in many of these states, all states, for minors to get surgery. And in some states, it's legal in very, 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 and I mean very specific circumstances. And the minors that are getting the minors that are getting surgeries are like 17, about to be 18. So this fear of like kids making decisions about their bodies when it comes to surgery is completely unfounded in anything. And there's no teacher out there that is going to make your kid trans.
No, but it's basically, here's my philosophy on it. So if you look back, let's say 50 to 100 years, we did not have as many people that were coming out as trans, coming out and wanting to have these surgeries, because now it's become like the norm. It's the status norm. You're outbanded if you sound outlandish if you say that you're against it. If you are conservative and you believe that those types of things should not be going on, then you are an outcast. But if you say, hey, we should be allowed to do that thing, it's okay for you to say, but my beliefs are not the same. It's harder to be a conservative in today's world setting than it is to be a Democrat. If you want to speak like out.
Just listen to yourself. You're not a victim here. Listen to the conversation you're having right now. You're picking on trans kids, trying to make their lives harder, trying to fearmonger about teachers making the kids trans or them getting surgeries and things like that. Do you think about how hard their lives are to exist? What are you, like a straight white guy conservative? You're like the most protected group in America. Not to say that you don't deserve rights and protection and care from the federal government. Absolutely. But to the irony of the conversation you're having right now is insane.
You think that a 10-year-old could truly decide that they want to change their gender?
Yeah, I think that when it comes to like kids who are trans, they know very early on, just like how kids know that they're straight very early on, or gay when they're very early on.
I mean, my kids believe in Santa Claus. They believe in the Tooth Fairy still. So if they were to come up to tell me that they thought that they were a boy or a girl, like I don't think I would be able to take them for their word at it.
Yeah, but except believing in Santa is different than knowing like, oh yeah, I'm a boy or I'm a girl or I'm straight or I'm not or things like that. That is entirely different, biologically speaking as well. So yeah, I mean, and when we see that, with kids that are trans, first of all, they're not getting hormones at the rate that you think they are. They're not playing in sports at the rate that you think they are. They're not getting surgeries at all. It's incredibly times a million rare. But this is something that we can observe takes place very early on. And it's incredibly rare that somebody is like, yeah, at 11, 10, 12 years old, I'm trans. And then later in life, they're like, oh, actually, I'm not trans.
But it does happen. It's an extremely huge disservice to the 1,000 over the last 5 years that were minors that thought that they were going to change their entire sex in life at that type of age. Like I could go tell my children right now that, hey, the tooth fairy is going to fly in tonight and give you $10, and they're going to believe it.
Yeah, I mean, except that doesn't do a disservice, right? Because when anything you're talking about, whether it be trans people or literally any data set, there's going to be examples of something incorrect taking place, somebody making a decision that they kind of regret. That happens with everything. There are people who get tattoos. The tattoo satisfaction rate with people that are young are typically decently high, but there are people who get tattoos and like, man, I wish I wouldn't have done that. But this is entirely different, of course. But like the idea that, just because there are a couple examples of people being like, well, I actually made the wrong decision here and I thought something that I now don't, doesn't invalidate or discredit the thousands, the millions of other trans people that exist not only in the United States, but around the world.
Okay. And I understand, and I have no issue with people having a choice, but I think an adult should have that choice. I do not.
That's what we agree with that. We think that when it comes to surgeries, yes, 18 and above, barring very specific circumstances. But then again, even if, like, for example, a 17-year-old, let's just say a psychologist, a doctor, the child's parents, a therapist, everybody involved, and specialists in this field were like, yeah, we think it would be beneficial for this child who's 17, about to be 18 in, let's just say 6 months, to get a surgery. Why would you want the government to step in and say, actually, we don't think that's the right thing to do? Wouldn't you want to have the experts and the parents make that decision?
I mean, I think that a 17-year-old can't even drink a beer legally. So I don't think they should be able to have a decision to, change their body parts. I mean, that's
then why would you? That's not the question I'm asking, because I'm like saying, like, yeah, for everybody, I think here for the most part agrees that it should only be available to people who are 18 up. But in the hypothetical I gave, why would you want the government to intervene? If we have doctors, specialists, parents all in alignment, why would you want the big bad government to come in and say,
I mean, but we also had doctors and specialists and everybody in alignment that the COVID vaccine was safe and effective.
And it is safe and effective, yes.
We just had Pfizer release a document last week that shared many, many, many faults of that vaccine. I know, yes.
Really? Like what faults?
I mean, all of the different heart conditions you could get after getting that vaccine.
Like what?
I know, like pericarditis. I know a lot of people in my area. My father went and had the vaccine and had never had any heart issues. Went and got pericarditis probably 2 to 3 months after his first dose, and never had any heart issues from it. Now, I'm not saying that happens to everybody, but the Democrats were saying all over the place that if you got the vaccine, that you would not get COVID. I could play you the clips. Joe Biden said it. Rachel Maddow said it. It was going all over the place. So you cannot tell the entire country that, hey, if you get this vaccine, it's safe and effective, you will not get COVID, and then change 2 or 3 months later when you realize that that's not the truth, and just start saying, hey, if you get the vaccine, you're not going to die. That's what it changed to. And then it changed to, hey, if you get the vaccine, the symptoms are going to be less. And then continue to backtrack. You have to be 100% sure of what you're saying is factual, and not get millions and millions of people to get a vaccine that isn't safe and effective.
Yeah, so I would totally agree with the premise, or the argument you're making, that you should be 100% sure what you're saying is 100% factual. You should follow the same logic. Because I just looked this up, that Pfizer released this document last week on side effects, and I have a sciencefeedback.org fact check on this. Quote, factually inaccurate. The list of medical conditions cited in the claim wasn't released by Pfizer in 2025. It originates from a document submitted to the FDA in 2021 and has been publicly accessible online since 2022. The medical conditions listed are adverse events reported following vaccination, not confirmed side effects. Adverse events are occurrences that follow vaccination but lack evidence of a causal link to the vaccine. By conflating these terms, the claim misleads readers into assuming causation where none has been established.
Okay, yeah, I understand that, because the vaccine is very short term right now. So I understand what you're saying. And here, I do think, like, you're a super smart guy. Like, I enjoy tuning into this and listening. I have listened for probably like the last couple of weeks. I agree with a lot of your points. But the one thing I do question in terms of this vaccine is, if you have your biggest figureheads in our government telling us that these things, regardless of what you just read, a regular American is not going to go online before getting a vaccine like the flu shot or COVID vaccine and read and check these things out. If they see the president of the United States saying, hey, this is safe and effective, I'm going to take that for their word. I'm going to take the word of the president of the United States that's going to tell me that, hey, I'm not going to get COVID if I get this vaccine. So that's where we have to be very careful. And that's kind of turned me off of some of the Democratic side. I consider myself in the middle. Trump, he said, I will say Trump has said a lot of things as well that have not been accurate, but I do believe that he pretty much says what he is going to do and he tries to do it. I do not think that's the same from the Democratic side. I think they tell you what you want to hear.
Interesting. We're still waiting on that healthcare plan. He said that in his first term. He was going to release it in 2 weeks. We're still kind of waiting on that. So definitely Trump does what he says he's going to do. So, but still wait. And we're also still waiting on that infrastructure deal as well.
And then
we're also still waiting for like Mexico to pay for the wall.
Yeah. I mean, I get you there, but I'm just telling you the reasons why I voted for him. So, Another. Can I bring up one more thing? Or?
Well, yes, you can bring up one more thing after I respond.
Okay.
So there have been tens of thousands of studies done with hundreds of thousands, millions of participants regarding the COVID vaccine. There have been no major studies that have been peer reviewed saying that the COVID vaccine is unsafe, whereas the opposite has been done for its efficacy and its safety. I don't understand how you can look at all this overwhelming evidence, all of these studies that are peer reviewed and say, yeah, screw that. I think it's unsafe. I think it's going to damage me. I think it's going to hurt me. When we know for a fact, this is not even disputable. This is why this conversation is crazy. It's not even disputable that the vaccine saved millions of lives during the pandemic, that if you had the vaccine, you were less likely to get COVID, you were less likely to go to the hospital, and you were less likely to die. And not just less likely by like 2 times or 3 times. There was a point in the pandemic where you were 11 times less likely to die if you have the COVID vaccine. So I don't understand how you can look at this overwhelming data and just say,
A lot of the data is made up, though. I mean,
what do you mean?
So when
these
you
are
look
peer
at,
reviewed.
When you look at COVID deaths, for instance, there was a time where we were listing every single death in America when Trump was the president as a COVID death.
It's not true.
The majority of deaths. I mean,
no, it's not true.
Okay,
that is like, this is, it's so baffling. That is categorically false. There were absolutely instances of where somebody's death was listed improperly as COVID, but that also happens without a pandemic. People's deaths are listed improperly, even in the absence of a pandemic. So this, of course, took place during the pandemic. But to say that this was happening on a mass scale is not true. There is no evidence for that. Matter of fact, it's likely that the amount of deaths that happen in the United States that we have calculated, which was around like 1.2 million, 1.3 million, is an undercount. Scientists across the board believe that to be an undercount, that people died with COVID and people didn't know, and it wasn't, nobody had an autopsy or anything for their family member that died, and they just got cremated or buried, and that was that. So it's likely an undercount. It's also likely a global undercount. But this is what's so frustrating about these conversations, because there's a information divide in the United States where this is common knowledge.
I 100% agree. There's an information divide.
Then why are you up here spreading false information?
So I mean, but you're also saying that the majority of deaths during COVID were not listed as COVID deaths, regardless of the death. So like somebody could come into the hospital and have a heart attack and also have COVID, and it was listed as a COVID death.
That's also not true. But also there are cases where somebody's heart attack was caused by them having COVID.
Yeah, I agree with that. But no matter
so then
what,
you die of COVID.
I wish I would have actually thought I was going to get on. I would have brought you some more facts. So it's my fault I didn't actually get on. But I just have 2 more things, and then I'm done. Just if that's okay with you.
No problem.
So my other issue is a lot of times, like when I've been listening to you the last couple of weeks, you bring up points of.
You just got flagged for misinformation.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. You just bring up things like, for instance, a lot of times like Trump's like being a good person compared to like Joe Biden or Kamala being a good person, or like Trump being a felon, and that discounting him. But to be quite honest with you, you can't think that Joe Biden knew nothing about Hunter's dealings and didn't know about his laptop, and he didn't know about any of that stuff. And he would continue to say none of that was true. It was all Russian disinformation. And then it came out and it was proven it was all true. And his own father had to know. So does that make him a better person than Donald Trump, who had some bookkeeping errors by his accountant? It wasn't, but which is worse? I'm curious. It wasn't just a bookkeeping error. Do you think Joe Biden knew about Hunter?
No. So there's literally no evidence at all that Biden knew about anything that Hunter was doing in his private business dealings. This is such a funny conversation now, because the Republicans, when they took the House in 2022, and then had the majority in 2023 till now, and then whatever. They started an investigation into Hunter and the Biden family, and they had all these hearings. They were televised. The big witnesses are coming in. But then as the witnesses started to come in, the Hunter Biden business partners, they all started saying things that, the Republicans really didn't want them to say, such as, Joe Biden actually had no knowledge at all. And we never talked to Joe Biden. And there was never a promise of access to Joe Biden. They said this over and over and over again. There were like 9 different business partners that came in that said that very thing. And the Republicans started doing closed door hearings. And now you don't hear about the investigation. Why don't you hear about the investigation? Because it didn't go well. They didn't uncover any evidence of Joe Biden being involved in any business dealings. There were photos of Joe Biden posing with Hunter and some people that Hunter was doing business with. And then when that was investigated, it was uncovered that, Joe Biden just like stopped in and spoke to them for 5 minutes and then went on his way and took a photo with them because he's the vice president of the United States. They asked for a photo and he's not going to say no because he doesn't know who these people are. So it's just funny in this context of this conversation. No, Joe Biden didn't know anything. He wasn't involved, and there is no evidence that he was involved.
Who was the big guy that was getting the 10%?
The person that wrote that email said that Joe Biden was not the big guy, and that I think it was what was his name? Somebody in the chat will know. It was Bobolinsky. And
you think Joe knew nothing about Hunter's laptop?
There's why? What would Joe? What about the laptop that Joe Biden didn't know about?
It's his son, and he's dealing directly with other international countries. And you think that he knows nothing about his dealings?
Wait, what would Joe Biden know?
It's a question. I'm not saying whether.
No. There's first of all, he wasn't dealing with other countries. He wasn't dealing like with the president or leader of other countries. He was dealing with like private businesses in these countries. So
that were getting deals through the United States. Joe Biden he had to know.
There's no evidence of that. I don't understand why you say he had to know. There's no evidence.
That would just be like, you're a smart guy. You know that he probably knows his son pretty well. So if you really think he knew nothing, then that's your answer. But
I imagine that I am. There's no evidence of anything.
My other issue from last night too that I was listening is that you said that.
I have something to say about this before we move on, though.
Okay, you go ahead first.
So this is what's crazy to me, that you have to make a claim about Hunter Biden saying, well, he had to have known, even though there's no evidence that he knew. But when you look at Donald Trump, like actually breaking the law, committing felonies, hiding classified documents in his personal Mar-a-Lago estate, trying to overturn an election he didn't win, and then being indicted for doing that in D.C. and then in Georgia as well. You can't look at that and say, wow, that's really bad. You have to try to make a comparison with Hunter Biden, who, by the way, is not running for president of the United States, was not running for president of the United States, and is not president of the United States. It's like, how can you not see that Donald Trump on this issue specifically is a million times worse? There is no comparison because Hunter Biden and his issues have nothing to do with Joe, whereas Donald Trump and his issues are his doing. It makes no sense.
Because people had access to Joe through Hunter.
But there's no evidence of that.
This is where I wish I could come back tomorrow and just bring some of my sources. I really didn't think I was going to get on. So this is my last thing, and this is more a general thing. You're blaming Trump for all of his bookkeeping errors, which there's never been anybody tried in the state of New York like this. I mean, they let criminals walk the streets of New York days after attempted murders, and they treat Trump they waste $5 million of taxpayer money to try and basically use the justice system for their own benefit, to get Trump to be sentenced as a felon, make him drop out of the race, try to pressure him through using the justice system for something that they wouldn't try anyone else in New York. They've never tried anybody else like this in New York for this kind of crime before. It'd be the same as like when people send you cash apps. You don't know every single person that's cash apped you. You don't know who it is, and it's coming into your bank. And so we're going to say that you know every single thing about all of your finances. Like, I just find that hard to believe.
Yeah.
And then I also don't think Kamala would have won a Democratic. I don't think she would have won the ticket. RFK would have beat her in a landslide.
There's so much misinformation here.
RFK would have beat her in a landslide if he would have had a fair chance. And I would have voted for RFK.
Of course he would have. There's so much misinformation here. So people sending me like Venmos or Cash Apps or whatever is not at all comparable to what we're talking about with Donald Trump. Donald Trump specifically paid off an adult actress with an NDA and things like that to keep her quiet about his affair with her so he would win an election. And you're saying, well, nobody's ever been charged and convicted like this in New York. First of all, there have been thousands of people who've been convicted of falsifying business records in the first degree. There's a lot of case law in New York City about this, or not New York City, but New York generally. So this happens all the time. But the reason Donald Trump is the only person to have been charged and convicted with this in New York is that there's never been a president before, or a presidential candidate in New York before, who has falsified business records in an attempt to cover up or further another crime. That has never happened before. So I don't understand what the misunderstanding is here. Of course, this is a unique case because no other presidential candidate in the state of New York has tried to falsify business records so that they win an election. And also, the idea that Donald Trump didn't know is ludicrous. His signature is on the checks that he was paying to Michael Cohen so that Michael Cohen would reimburse Stormy Daniels. He was signing on to the checks that gave Michael Cohen a bonus and a tax incentive for doing it. Michael Cohen called him about this story. We have the audio of the phone call between them.
How'd that help him win the election? Can you explain that?
What was that?
How'd that help him win the election? Because you're stating you're basically doing
happily
what you're doing for Joe. Because you're saying that the laptop shouldn't have any effect on Joe. So why should this kind of information have it?
So the information, first of all, Donald Trump himself was nervous that the story about him and Stormy Daniels would lose him the election. Donald Trump's senior advisors like Hope Hicks, who actually testified at the trial under oath, was talking about how it was a panic in the campaign when the story about Stormy Daniels came up. So they themselves were nervous about the story. They paid her off to keep her quiet and then falsified business records so that the information wouldn't be accessible and nobody would find out that Donald Trump paid off an adult actress to cover up their affair.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that would have that big of an impact in an election.
Even if you think that wouldn't have had a big impact in 2016, just understand the circumstances. Donald Trump was being destroyed for the tape that came out about him bragging about grabbing women by the blank. Now you add another story in there, such as infidelity with an adult actress, that they were worried it was going to destroy them with women, with suburban women, with mothers and things like that. They didn't want that story coming out. So they falsified the business records. Donald Trump knowingly falsified the business records, knew about the scheme. His own money paid for the scheme. He was signing checks in the White House. His signature is on the checks to keep the story from coming out. So when you do that to interfere with an election, that's really fucking bad.
So what's your biggest issue with whenever you say, hey, I want to get a guest to come up that's only MAGA, why does MAGA bother the Democratic side so much? Like, making America great, why do we hate that we want our country to be the best?
So MAGA is just the phrase I give Trump supporters because that's what they describe themselves, or at least that's what Donald Trump calls his movement.
I mean, see, I don't consider myself MAGA. I consider myself conservative and more towards the middle.
Well, whatever you want to consider yourself. You voted for Donald Trump.
Yeah, I couldn't vote for Kamala, so
that's nonsense. We're happy to talk about that as well. But what bothers me so much is a number of things. It's hard to put your finger on one, but it's just the lies. It's the misinformation. It's the take a look at what's happening in California right now with these wildfires. This is something I've been.
That's it's horrible. It's absolutely terrible.
It's devastating. It's horrible. But you know what else is devastating and horrible? The fact that Donald Trump and people like Elon Musk are spreading misinformation about it, making it more difficult for first responders to do their jobs and making it more difficult for the people of California who have been affected by these fires to get accurate information. That's obviously, there's many things about MAGA that bothers me. That in the past couple of days and weeks has been one of the main things for me, that Donald Trump so shamelessly lies, even in the event of a disaster in a state that in however many days, 9-ish days, 10-ish days, he will be representing as president of the United States. By the way, I can't hear you when you're off TikTok Live, so you got to come back.
So why is Gavin Newsom not have any answers? He is the governor of the state of California. Mm-hmm. He is a Democratic governor who will not win the next election. He's
not running.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't either. I wouldn't run either.
Well, he's term limited.
Yeah, and he wouldn't win if he was running. More correctly.
I mean, he's won both elections, and
a Republican governor will win the election of California in the next election.
It would be nice to live in fantasy like you do. But
so why is there no answers from him as to why they cannot get water to the fire hydrants to make sure that they're able to fight those fires? Why is there no answer? Why was there no plan? Trump literally talked about this 3 months ago on Joe Rogan, and he talked about how this was going to be a major issue in the state of California. So if this is known by somebody that you consider not very intellectual, that you consider not very smart, and he talked about this 3 months ago on Joe Rogan, you can pull it up if you want. He said that this was going to be an issue. And here we are with this issue, and we have no answers. And it's really, really sad. I pray for all the people of California. I feel as though they should have had better support than this. And this is sometimes what happens when you go to a lack of leadership.
So, I mean, there's a lot of, again, misinformation there, but like California is a state.
Misinformation that Trump did have this conversation with Joe Rogan. That's not misinformation.
Yeah. So so California is a state that has a lot of wildfires. So Donald Trump saying like, yeah, I think there's probably going to be another wildfire in the state is not some mystic.
But he talked about they need to get a plan together to use the ocean water.
They do that.
But they're afraid to use salt water because it's bad for the land.
Right. So they try not to use salt water for the most part because it's bad for the land. But they also have who cares? I think a lot of people will care in the aftermath. But aside from that, so Donald Trump's not like mystic to say that. Also, Donald Trump doesn't have a plan. He keeps telling them to rake the forests. What the fuck does that even mean? By the way, the forest management budget in California is now 10 times higher now than when it was when Gavin Newsom got into office. It was around 200 million when Gavin Newsom got into office. Now it's 2 billion with a B since 2019, since Gavin Newsom took control of California. So that's just a plain lie from Donald Trump. Also, Gavin Newsom has called for an investigation into why some of the water wasn't able to be accessed from some of these fire hydrants and why there was a lack of access to, a lack of water pressure. So you're saying like, why aren't there answers from Gavin Newsom? He's asking for an investigation into this. Gavin Newsom is not a mind reader. He can't predict the future. He has no idea what it is. He's not God.
You just said anybody could predict wildfires. So he should have a better answer as to why these wildfires.
Right. So when there's a state that has a lot of wildfires, it's easy to be like, yeah, I think there's probably going to be another wildfire in this state. When it comes to fire hydrants and a lack of water pressure, that's an entirely different thing. Like nobody can predict fire hydrants having a lack of water pressure. But to be clear, all of the reservoirs in the surrounding area in Southern California either were either full or exceeded historical limits before the fire.
But there was a lot of trees in California as well that are very, very, very prone to these types of fires. And they had talked about cutting these types of trees down and regrowing trees that do not have such a high ability to catch fire. And nothing's been done with that. I don't understand. Like, if you know that wildfires are a major, major issue in your state, and you know these trees are prone to catching fire, why is nothing being done?
Do you understand how much forest they would have to cut down?
You understand
and how terrible that would be for the environment?
You understand how much of the city is burned down and how terrible that's been for the environment?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. But like the idea that they should just go cutting down all of these trees and that'll stop it is insane. And the idea that they can just plant the trees and they'll grow back is also insane. Like trees are flammable no matter what. Forests are flammable no matter what. This just happens to be a very unique circumstance where there were hurricane type winds. The land has been very dry. There hasn't been rain for around 7 to 8 months. It's been drought-like conditions, and that leads to a fire. Also, I just want to go all the way back to when you said that there's been no answers from Gavin Newsom. I just posted a TikTok video about this today. I just posted tweets about this today, that Gavin Newsom set up a website today, released it, called CaliforniaFireFacts.com, which I would encourage everybody to go to, with fact checks of some of the biggest claims that Republicans, Donald Trump and Elon Musk have been making, such as that the wildfires were caused by California's mismanagement of forest fires. Perhaps that. For example, let's read one of these fact checks, something that you were arguing. Quote, California dramatically ramped up state work to increase wildland and forest resilience, as well as adding unprecedented resources to support wildlife response. California officials treated more than 700,000 acres of land for wildfire resilience in 2023, and prescribed fires more than doubled between 2021 and 2023.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying that there's definitely a lack of awareness when it comes to the difference of climate change and the environment in California, and using the ocean water to stop some of these fires. Like, at the end of the day, if it's bad for the environment to save people's homes and what they've worked their entire lives for, I probably would spray a little salt water.
It's not just, you don't understand. It's not just like a little salt water. They're like, the Palisades fire is like tens of thousands of acres.
I understand that, but it would
So-
help. It would definitely help some if they use the ocean water. I mean, that's just common sense.
I can't even like have this conversation more. Tens of thousands of land having salt, which is corrosive on the land,
But the
doesn't
fire,
sound like a great solution to me.
the fire is also corrosive. I mean, on the land. So to stop the fire.
Yeah, I don't think it's like a good idea to just be like to just ignore everything we know about salt water and how that damages the environment, and especially when salt's in the land, and just say, yeah, let's just pour a bunch of salt water onto the land, and then we'll deal with that later. Talk about, I mean, disaster. Talk about repercussions. I mean, that'll be insane. That's insane. That's just crazy.
Yeah, I just think that, I mean, the Democrats lost for several reasons, and a lot of it is because, like, if I were to ask you why, if Joe Biden did such an amazing job the last 4 years, then Kamala Harris would have won. He did such a poor job that they were able to lose to Donald Trump again.
Yeah, Joe Biden didn't do a poor job, and just because Kamala Harris lost the election doesn't mean that Joe Biden did a poor job. What happened is people cared about inflation. They thought they wanted to blame somebody for inflation, so they looked at Kamala Harris, they looked at Joe Biden, and said, "You caused this, or you're at fault." And Donald Trump, no, they didn't. Well, okay, let's have the conversation. Let's quickly do it. How is Joe Biden and Kamala Harris responsible for inflation?
So they're responsible for inflation for several reasons. In terms of when we have to raise the price of oil, like we did, that makes prices for everything go up. It makes the prices of our normal day groceries go up. I'll give you an example. So I looked at a Walmart order that I ordered in 2019. Okay. And it was $137. The same order today would be $362. That's not Donald Trump. Okay. That's not Donald Trump. That is the party that was in there for the last.
Okay, but like how?
So when you raise oil prices,
how did they raise oil prices?
Because we stopped trying to do our own pipeline. We decided
we're producing more oil right now than ever before in American history. That record has been set 2 years in a row.
So we would have, under Trump, we would have been way, way higher than that. He had a plan to, he had a plan. You're going to shake your head, but like, I know,
wait, no, this is nonsense, right? Like,
can you tell me one thing that Donald Trump did good during his presidency?
Operation Warp Speed, vaccine development for COVID.
Give me one more.
He signed in the First Step Act.
Okay. So I will say that what would you say the top two things that Joe Biden did in his presidency are?
Oh God, it's hard to choose top two, but yeah, I think it's like impossible to choose top two. I'll give you four that just come to mind: the Inflation Reduction Act, the Infrastructure Bill, the Chips and Science Act, and the PACT Act.
Okay. And I appreciate your time tonight, Harry. Like I get along with both sides. I will never not get along with someone because they voted for Joe Biden, they voted for Kamala Harris, they voted for whoever. I will never not get along with a fellow American because of that. I would help anybody. So I know that's part of the reason also I've really struggled over the last couple of years, is, you know, like last night you were talking to some people and you said like MAGA losers or like I don't know. I feel like a lot of time like the Democrats claim that the Republican side are the name callers, and more of the times it's the Democratic side that's the name callers. If I were to use a word like that and call somebody a loser or something like that directly to their face, you would be like, "That's just a MAGA thing." They're calling their name.
Well, hold on, time out. Here's the difference.
But when you do it, when you call somebody a loser that's trying to have a conversation with you, it's not called out the same way. That's what I'm saying. That's why it's easier to be a Democrat and talk than it is to be a Republican.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So just a couple things here. First and foremost, the difference is I'm not saying when we talk about like name calling, we're not just talking about like your average Trump supporter, or at least I'm not. When I'm talking about name calling, I'm talking about the fact that the president-elect and the former Republican nominee for president is the one doing it. I'm just a random guy on the internet. Right, I'm not the Democratic Party.
You're not a random guy on the internet.
I'm a random guy on the internet. I'm some random 22-year-old on the internet with a microphone that debates Trump supporters and makes videos all day.
But you've been well paid by the Democratic Party.
I wish. No, that's not true. That's also not true. I've not been paid by the Democratic Party.
But you have no funds coming from the Democratic Party.
Zero, nada, zilch, none. So the point is, I'm just some random guy on the internet with a microphone who makes videos and debates Trump supporters. I'm not the guy running for president of the United States. However, if I do talk to somebody and they're a MAGA lunatic to the point where they think that like yeah, the election in 2020 wasn't fair, or that E. Jean Carroll lied, or that the deep state is out to get Donald Trump and his prosecutions were unfair, I think they're a loser.
I mean, I do think that the 2020 election was fair. I think that Donald Trump lost the 2020 election, but I think that based off of what has happened over the last 4 years is why he won the election. I mean, it's plain and simple. The Democratic side did not do a good enough job to re-win the election. No,
I mean, you can think that. I'm just saying that
not a big enough group of people that thought, hey, my life's better today. That's what it comes down to at the end of the day, because not everybody knows.
You can think that. That's perfectly fine. I'm just saying, like, why I called these people losers. And I think, like, if you're genuinely somebody that, like, justifies January 6th and stuff like that, yeah, you're a total loser. That's 100%.
But I mean, that's where I stand. I'm sick of people not getting along because of politics.
You voted for Trump. Don't hit me with that. Don't hit me with that. Don't hit me with I'm sick of people not getting along. Don't do that.
But I still get along with both sides.
Doesn't matter.
I would never say because you voted for Kamala, I'm not going to like you.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, right? Because if you're enabling somebody that like Donald Trump, right, who is the most divisive figure in American politics, stretching back many years now, going all the way back to 2012 when he said that Obama wasn't born in the United States and actually he was born in Kenya, to now with Joe Biden and like making fun of his stutter or making fun of his family, or Kamala Harris saying that she's not actually black, among a whole a variety of different comments that, you know, people on the Democratic side are vermin, or that people should be locked up like Hillary Clinton. This guy is the most divisive figure in American politics. You cannot sit here and say, I'm sick of everybody not getting along, and then turn around and vote for somebody who says stuff like that.
I would argue that Biden was just as, if not more, divisive. I mean,
really?
Could you imagine being Donald Trump and being shot at and actually shot, and then still standing up and continuing to fight? He doesn't need to do this. The guy could go live on the beach the rest of his life. He could go golfing every day and not have to have this kind of pressure and scrutiny on his family. But at the end of the day, all these divisive comments that were made from the other side caused lunatics,
utter nonsense,
lunatics to go and try and kill
utter nonsense. Utter nonsense. There's absolutely no evidence that Joe Biden or Kamala Harris's rhetoric. Wait, hold on. There's no. Yeah, we all watched him get shot, which was terrible, right?
Yeah,
but there's no evidence that Joe Biden or Kamala Harris's rhetoric toward Donald Trump led to that event.
There's no evidence.
Absolutely
there's no evidence his rhetoric led to January 6th. He said, "Please do a peaceful."
There is
peaceful protest.
There legitimately.
Literally what he said.
There is evidence.
He didn't tell them to go and storm the Capitol, and also. Do you think the largest group of Americans, which is Republicans, is the biggest group of gun owners, would storm the Capitol, and there wouldn't be any guns present?
There were guns present.
There were not. How many?
Yes, there were. There were people who've been convicted for having guns on the Capitol.
How many?
I think I read something that there were like 180 people who've been convicted for having weapons in the Capitol.
Okay, so 180. So you think that he himself is the reason that those 180 lunatics went and did that?
Just walk through this with me for a second. So
okay.
Let's just think about this critically, right? So Donald Trump is advertising this big January 6th rally at the Ellipse in Washington, D.C. because he wants people to protest the certification of the election. He's saying,
correct.
Be there, will be wild. That's his words, right? He said, come to D.C. on January 6th. Everybody's coming, whatnot. And he's encouraging all of his supporters and followers to do it. He's encouraging people to have these rallies. He's still pushing.
Use the word will be wild.
I'm not done yet.
Okay.
He's still pushing these incredibly inflammatory lies about the 2020 election, saying it wasn't fair, that this person did it, that person did it, the whole 9 yards. So then we know that there's this rally that's happening on January 6th. The Secret Service and the FBI briefed Donald Trump and Mike Pence that they have intelligence that suggests there's going to be a lot of violence on that day. That they know there's going to be people who are planning things to do bad. Hold on, stop. Time out. I'm not done yet.
Okay.
There are people that are planning to do bad things that day, and they're like, and Donald Trump still goes forward with the rally anyway. Okay, and then at the rally, there are metal detectors, and they're detecting all of these different weapons that people are bringing in: knives, brass knuckles, firearms, things like that. The Secret Service is removing their weapons or removing them from the rally. Donald Trump tells them, remove the metal detectors. So at this point, before Donald Trump gives his speech, he knows that people that are there are fired up because of the lies that he's spreading. He knows that they want to be violent, and he knows that they're armed. And then yet he still has people like Rudy Giuliani and John Eastman that come out before him and incite violence, telling them they have to fight. Donald Trump comes out saying you have to fight. If you don't fight, you won't have a country anymore. When you see fraud of this level, you go by different rules, suggesting that you can break the law. Then he directs them to the Capitol to go protest the certification, talking about how everybody in the Capitol is bad. Knowing all of these, and he knows that these people are armed and want to do violence. Knowing all of these facts, are you saying to me that Donald Trump has absolutely no culpability for what happened on January 6th, and it's unforeseen? He couldn't have seen this coming.
So this would be the same logic of Joe Biden the days before Trump was shot.
I can't even believe what I'm hearing right now. You're off TikTok. I still can't hear you.
It's time to put Trump in a bullseye, is what Joe Biden said.
Yeah, and what was the context of that comment?
So bullseye. But you're saying Trump saying "get wild" means to go and storm the Capitol.
I'm pretty sure I said a lot more than that.
And but Joe Biden said, "Let's put Donald Trump in a bullseye. He's an existential threat to the country." He used those same words. So how do you?
Yeah, and what was the context of what he said?
That he's a threat to democracy.
Yeah, and not exactly. What was the context of what he said? Do you know?
It doesn't matter. It's the same.
It does matter because what Joe Biden was saying. No, it does matter. It does matter. It does matter.
In the speech,
what Joe Biden was saying is that the Democratic Party at the time was incredibly divided. There were people saying, "Oh, Biden this," "Oh, Biden should be the nominee," yada yada. And Biden was saying it's time to unite and put Donald Trump in the bullseye, meaning that our focus is on Donald Trump.
Yeah, and Trump was saying, "Let's get wild."
How on earth can you take a comment like that where Joe Biden is saying, "Yeah, we have to focus on Donald Trump and his threat," to mean to at all connect to the terrible tragedy in Butler, Pennsylvania?
I don't think it is. It's the same. I don't think that Trump's words meant that people should go storm the Capitol.
Okay, wait. So you acknowledge that Joe Biden's words had nothing to do with it. I'm glad we're there.
Absolutely.
But then you're telling me.
I'm using.
You're telling me. Hold on. You're telling me that Donald Trump, who knows that he's speaking in front of a crowd that is armed, that wants to be violent, and they're fired up.
He doesn't know the crowd is armed. I highly
yes,
doubt
he did.
The crowd was not armed.
Yes,
right
they
in front of
were.
Trump.
Yes, they were. No, they were armed by Donald Trump. There would be no
event where the president would be speaking where they would have people armed at the event.
So did you listen to anything I just said? Exactly. Yes. These people were getting beeped by the metal detectors, and Donald Trump told the Secret Service to remove the metal detectors.
But you're saying when he was speaking, there was people with guns.
There were people armed in D.C. on January 6th who were there to see Donald Trump. There were people
at the rally.
Yeah, there were people at the rally who had different types of weapons. There were people outside of the rally who had firearms and things like that. We know this for a fact. We also know that these people in question have been convicted and that they were in the Capitol and things like that.
That's a major letdown for the country that we would allow people with arms to
take it up with Donald Trump. He told the Secret Service to remove the.
Donald Trump also told Nancy Pelosi to bring in the National Guard. That's been proven. That's a fact.
She
admitted it. She admitted it.
Nope.
She admitted it was her mistake.
No. Incorrect. Nancy Pelosi doesn't control the National Guard. D.C. is not a state, so the National Guard for the District of Columbia is controlled by the President of the United States.
He requested the National Guard. She denied.
What's your evidence? Really?
Yes.
In what universe is Nancy Pelosi in the chain of command when the president is requiring the National Guard to come in?
Give me 30 seconds and I'll pull the source.
What was that?
Give me 30 seconds. I'll pull.
Please pull the source. Please pull the source. Please pull the source. Please. Oh my God. I would love to see the source on that. Please pull the source. Alexa, thanks for the $10. Want to form a more perfect union? That's funny. I like that. Nathan, thanks for the $5. They should have put the fires out with Brondo. It's what plants crave. Watch the movie Idiocracy if you haven't. I'm assuming that's a joke. I don't know what that is. Amelia, thanks for the $1. Funny how MAGA always challenges you to name something good Trump did when they're the ones that won't admit that Democrats did good. Yeah, I know, right? It's like funny.
It was the HBO footage from the January 6 days where she literally takes responsibility for not bringing in the National Guard.
I'm asking for evidence. Wait. I'm asking for evidence that Nancy Pelosi rejected it because this would all take place in writing, right?
She said it was her, but it's actually, you can listen to her say it. Like watch the HBO.
That's also not, Nancy Pelosi didn't say I should have brought in the National Guard.
She said that it was her mistake that the National Guard was not brought in.
She did not say that. I don't understand. The speaker, I don't understand what's so difficult here. The Speaker of the House doesn't control the National Guard for DC. On what planet does that make sense? On what constitutional planet does it make sense? The District of Columbia is not a state, so the president controls the National Guard. There is no evidence at all that Donald Trump asked the National Guard to come in, or at least had asked for 10,000 troops.
Nancy Pelosi herself said that he did.
Where?
In the HBO documentary.
Where did Nancy Pelosi say that Donald Trump requested the National Guard? And I said no.
She didn't say it specifically like that, but she did say that she messed that up.
No, she did not. This is completely false.
Okay.
No, this is completely false. Again, there's no constitutional basis for thinking that Nancy Pelosi controls the National Guard.
Well, the best part for all of us is, I guess, in 4 years we'll see where we're at.
Yeah, we will see where we're at. And by the way, you're going to be lied to.
I hope you're rooting for Trump.
I always root for the United States. So I want the president to succeed because it means America succeeds. But is Donald Trump going to succeed? My prediction is absolutely the fuck not. Right? No chance.
I would say that Joe Biden did not succeed in his 4 years, and that's proof by him
what metric?
By Kamala not winning the election.
Wait, that's nonsense. Don't look at electoral results. Doesn't mean that somebody wasn't a good president or that they failed.
Donald Trump also won the popular vote.
So then would you argue that Donald Trump's first term, he was a failure?
I would argue that he was that COVID ended his first term.
No.
That's why.
Hold on. Would you argue? You said that because Kamala lost, that Joe Biden means that Joe Biden was a failure. His presidency sucked. So then, would you argue, yes or no, that Donald Trump sucked and was a failure in his first term?
I would not. No, I would say that.
Okay,
COVID,
why not?
I would say that COVID derailed.
Okay, so then apply that same logic to the Biden presidency when it comes to things like inflation and gas prices, and say, yeah, COVID, the major global pandemic that hurt all these different countries, probably played a big role in that.
We could apply the same logic for why he had such an incline and increase in jobs. I mean, because people were coming back and businesses were reopening.
Yeah, even when you factor out, even when you just look at even when you just look at jobs that were created from like 2022 to now, Joe Biden still has better average job monthly creation. And there hasn't been a single month in Biden's presidency with negative jobs. Not a single month with negative jobs under Joe Biden. Not a single month.
Look at 2021 to 2022, the increase. Now, I don't care about 2022 after. I'm talking about
why the fuck not? Do you not care about 2022 after?
Because 21 to 22 is what I'm talking about. That's where the biggest increase was.
Yeah, obviously there's a big increase there due to a lot of people rehiring from COVID. But I'm saying even if you factor out COVID losses for Trump and COVID gains for Biden, Biden still had a better per month average job growth than Donald Trump did.
You see that they change those job growth reports every month though. They release it and then 2 months later they're like, oh, actually that wasn't correct.
Yeah, so they also did that for Donald Trump. And if you look at the level of revisions under Trump compared to Biden, I think Trump's was like 885,000 jobs down and Joe Biden's is like 900,000. So they've had similar revision numbers. That happens under every presidency.
I mean, it's incorrect, though, in terms of Joe Biden had higher revision numbers than Trump over his presidency.
Yeah, like by this much.
Yeah, but you just said that Trump had 900,000, Joe had 85.
Oh, then I misspoke.
Correct.
It's the opposite. Yeah. Joe Biden had Trump had like 885,000 in revisions. Joe Biden had like 900,000, 905,000.
Yeah, so Biden had more.
Yeah, like by like this much, yeah.
Yeah,
but the point is that these revisions happen under every single president. This is not just Joe Biden and the Department of Labor Statistics rigging it for him.
But the other biggest disappointment for me, it was just honestly the weaponization of the justice system. I mean, if it mattered to do you think that why has there never been a president that has had their house raided before until Trump? Joe Biden had
because there hasn't been a president that's lied to the FBI and withheld documents that they were asking for.
Joe Biden had the documents in his garage. The same thing.
Yeah, except
he did. It's a fact.
Yeah, except it's entirely different. And you just don't know the difference. The difference is that Joe Biden didn't know he had those documents. That's even the conclusion of Special Counsel Robert Hur, who published an entire report about this, saying that there was no evidence that Joe Biden willfully and knowingly withheld those documents, or even was aware that those documents were in his possession. Whereas with Donald Trump, he knew the documents were in his possession.
scary. He doesn't know
he was
they're in his
hiding them,
possession.
and he lied to the FBI. He had his lawyers sign a
scary that he
certification.
doesn't know they're in his possession.
Hold on. Donald Trump had his lawyers sign a certification saying that they gave all the documents back, knowing that the documents were all not given back. They were in his private residence. Joe Biden,
garage.
when the FBI requested that he look for documents and give them back, he said, "Yeah, go ahead right away."
Give you a W. I appreciate the talk. I've been looking forward to it. I wish that I would have had some more sources ready, but I wish you the best of luck.
All right, man. I appreciate coming up. Have a good one. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. Amelia, thanks for the $1. Oh, sorry, I read that already. But again, Amelia, I appreciate you. Christy, thanks for the $2.02. Thank you for what you do. It takes courage and dedication to engage in meaningful debates while promoting understanding and awareness. Keep up the great work and inspiring others to think critically and stay informed. Christy, that's so incredibly kind. I appreciate you. You're so nice. Anna, thanks for the $2. This guy hates acceptance. It's so hard, even in progressive states, for children to get gender-affirming care. Those kids that got care got life-saving procedures. Well, exactly, Anna. And it's, again, like... the people that are scared of like trans people it's so peculiar to me. Of all the issues that they care about, this is the one they pick. Jesse, thanks for the $2. Why is MAGA so concerned in the trans community? I don't know. I have no idea. They just love, a lot of these people love poking into other people's business. Reagan, thanks for the $5 on PayPal. Love watching you. I couldn't find you on Twitch today. I don't know why. It might be user error. It's probably because, I've never gone live on Twitch, so it hasn't populated yet. So it's hard to find me. Some people have found me and follow me, but you have to go live for you to like end up showing up in the search bar. Venus, thanks for the $5. I broke my foot. Please say something comforting. I already asked Parker and Chris this, but I want comforting words from you and Dean too. Comforting words for breaking your foot. First of all, I'm so sorry that you broke your foot. But I think that you'll learn a lot during this recovery period, and you'll have the opportunity to like read more and study more and maybe pursue something while you're off your feet for a little bit that you haven't been able to prior. So I always try to see the positive in every situation. It kind of keeps you sane a little bit, I suppose. So, why are people saying, can I check on Dean? What do I, silver lining, exactly. Why am I checking on Dean? Susan, thanks for the $5. So Biden needs to know everything about his son's business, but Trump doesn't know his own business. That's a great point, Susan. That's a really good point. And Megan, thanks for the $1. Please watch Idiocracy, starring Maya Rudolph. Oh, love her. Terry Crews, love him. Luke Wilson and Dax Shepard. That's the reality we're coming to. That sounds like a good movie. He's fine. Last guess was insane. Oh, Dean, Dean's a strong guy. I mean, this guy's I don't know. I think he's probably fine. I can send him a text if people want me to. Audrey, thanks for the $1. Your hair looks hot. Your hair looks hot. Push back. Well, thank you, Audrey. I appreciate that. Kira, $1. Got any tinfoil? Also, Idiocracy is a fantastic movie and possibly where America's headed. I have to watch this movie now. Logan, thanks for the 1 cent. Kamala didn't lose because Biden did bad. She lost because the average American doesn't understand how the economy and inflation works. Biden-Harris did amazing bouncing back from COVID, but they needed someone to blame the high prices on. And Elise, thanks for the $2. Hey, Harry, I introduced the Core 4 to my dad today, and he said, you're his favorite and mine too. Yo, Elise's dad? I appreciate you. Listen, there was also a violation during that conversation, so I'm like debating whether I restart or not. I mean, I guess theoretically it doesn't really matter if I get banned from live because like theoretically TikTok only has like 8 more days in existence. So, but I don't know. What do you guys think? Restart or not? Not part 2 tonight. Anna says no. What do you guys think? I think a lot of people are saying restart. Well, there's a mix of like no and restart. I don't know. I mean, I can play it safe. I mean, let me see if there's anybody in the box. Yeah, so the people that are in the box that are MAGA, I'll just restart and you guys can come right back up immediately. So if you are MAGA and you want to be like the first person we debate, just come back when we restart, all right? Does it sound good to you? Sound good? All right, we'll just quickly restart. And again, if you're MAGA, just request back up immediately. We'll get you up here as soon as possible, all right? I'll be back in 1 second. We're restarting right now, so come back ASAP. I'm not Chris Mowry, so when I say a restart, I'm not going to take 20 years. Of course, I had to make fun of Chris. He's not here to defend himself, so. Hi, everybody. See? Didn't take that long, huh? I got more water while I was up. You know, all that good stuff. Look at Darian in the chat. That took too long. Are you kidding me? Ladies and gents, it's good to be back with you. Make sure to double tap the screen. Let's try to get to 100,000 likes again. We have to do it times 2 now. We have to do it again. So double tap the screen. Let's try to get to 100,000 likes super quickly. It helps boost the live and send it out to more people. All that good stuff. You know the drill by now. You know, I mean, I don't got to tell you. You guys, you know better than I, perhaps. So show some love to the shares as well. Spam those shares, copy a link, send it to a friend, family, or loved one. Perhaps your MAGA uncle who thinks that the wildfires were caused by DEI. Those people that think that, perhaps. I won't say anything mean about them. I won't say anything mean about them. Anyway. You guys can fill in the blank for me. Venmo, Cash App, PayPal. In the link in my bio, if you want to support the live, it goes an incredibly long way. But of course, there's absolutely no pressure to do that. So anyway, if you are MAGA, if you fall into this category of liking Donald Trump, it's not a good one. It's not, you're not in good company. Why don't you come up and tell me why? Why don't you come up and tell me why? Tell me why you voted for Donald Trump. Why? Why would you do that? Come on up and tell me MAGA and we'll talk. Wait, come on up and tell me why you're MAGA and we'll talk. All right. Does it sound good to you? It sounds good to me. How do we request? I'll just invite you up. How about that? I just send you an invite. If that guy comes up, that's great. If he doesn't, he doesn't. Oh, here he comes. Again, I always find it peculiar when people have like Trump as their profile picture. So I don't want to believe that this person exists. Perhaps he does, but we'll find out in just a second. My belief is he's probably a troll. What's going on, man?
Hey, man, I'm not a troll.
Oh, so you just have your profile picture, is that? Please, relax.
I mean, shoot, I don't know. Is that a troll?
Well, it's just, I think it's weird. That's all.
Fair enough.
So why did you vote for Donald Trump?
Man, I voted for Donald Trump probably for a lot of the same reasons that your guests come on and say. But I heard you on the last live before you ended it, made a comment about the children's reaffirming gender care or whatever it is. I just want to know how you feel about that.
Well, I'm not in favor
and
of
I mean, specifically, and sorry, before I just want to, I guess, make my point before we like get into a rabbit hole. It would be like specifically like literal children being a part of it versus participating, functioning adults.
Yep.
So that's what I mean.
Yeah. So are you just talking about like surgeries or what specifically?
Man, anything like hormones, any sort of therapy or surgery as a minor.
Yeah. So in terms of like surgeries in particular, starting there, no, I don't think that like any major Democrat is in favor of offering wide access to surgeries for kids. It's incredibly rare. I was just telling the guy before, it's exceedingly rare. In some years, there's only been like 100 cases in a country of like 330 million people. So it's not a thing. It's not happening. And these are incredibly rare circumstances of which doctors, medical professionals, the parents deem it necessary. So it's not like, oh, let's walk in and you have their surgery. There's also like an entire process for somebody to get to that point. They don't just walk in and say, I want surgery now. You have to go through a number of different steps in order to get there.
Is it okay if I stop you for just a second before I forget?
Go ahead. Yeah.
So in that instance, you can find doctors all over the world that say, we'll do this surgery. And then you can find just as many doctors, if not more, that say this therapy or the surgery is not okay. So I'm curious, what are those qualifications?
There's not a major medical organization in the United States that suggests or recommends gender transition surgery for minors. So like there might be a doctor,
but I mean they may perform it. I'm not saying
no. There's no
but I mean
there's no widespread doctors that are performing it, right? So there's examples of people in every profession having like crazy views. So there are doctors out there that like don't like vaccinations at all. Those people are insane. Just like there's probably a doctor out there who probably does some bad things when it comes to this topic. But in terms of the overwhelming majority of doctors, this does not happen. There are not doctors out there performing these surgeries. And we have no evidence to suggest that there are doctors out there performing these surgeries at a wide scale and things like that.
So then why is it so widely talked about, and why is it made such an issue of Democratic campaigns and elections?
Yeah, so it's only widely talked about because Republicans widely talk about it. This is not happening. It's not a thing. Republicans have lied to you and many other people in the party to make you think that this is like a widespread phenomenon, that kids everywhere are just getting gender transition surgeries. Donald Trump on the campaign trail was talking about how parents would send their kids to school and they'd come back with a gender transition surgery. Utter nonsense. They lie about this to make you scared into thinking this is happening, so you vote for them, when in reality, there are no doctors doing this. This is not a thing. Similar to
there are no doctors doing what? I'm sorry.
Gender transition surgeries for minors. If you're an adult, you can do whatever you want with your body. You want to get a surgery, you can get a surgery. But for minors, this is not happening.
And I know it's a complete major difference, but I kind of lump like hormone therapy into the same thing as transition surgery. I get it. It's one's like literal mutilation and surgery. The other is pills. But at the end of the day, I still think it's the same idea. So I'm curious. You say no doctors are doing it. I don't think that's accurate.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like hormone therapy, that does happen for some minors, but it only happens after a physician has approved it. So you can't just walk into a CVS and saying, yeah, I'm going to take some hormones. It's also important to note that these hormones that you're talking about are reversible, but also they only take place before sort of like the beginning of puberty or like during puberty. And then again, these hormones in question have been in use for like years now. They have been, for kids that have premature puberty.
But not to the magnitude and the intended use that it is now.
Well, it's also being used in the same way. Like, this is incredibly safe. There's no literature to suggest that these hormones aren't safe. They've been using kids for a long time now, for kids, for example, with premature puberty, to block the puberty that they're meant to be going through that happens early. So these are not dangerous. They're reversible. A lot of them are reversible, and anything that's not reversible is not taking place when somebody's a minor. Again, and don't even get me started on the trans people in sports. It's going to freak me out. The Republicans have lied about this topic for years to create a culture war over it when there isn't one. There is no war to be had because this is not happening.
No, I agree with that. I don't think it's widely happening, but I do feel like on the Democrat side, whenever we're talking about campaigns, it's much more widely talked about in the sense of, we're going to accept everybody. We're not going to reverse gender affirming care. I feel like the Democrats are the ones that talk about it more.
But we're not.
Not just
Kamala Harris didn't talk about the trans people or just broadly the LGBTQ plus community very much at all on the campaign trail. It was Donald Trump running the ad that Kamala Harris is for they, them, I'm for you type like stupid shit, right? So I think that Kamala Harris. Go ahead, sir.
No, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to interrupt. I just don't want to forget. But what did Trump do that was, I guess, directly against not even just gay or LGBTQ plus? But I mean, what did he do? I don't understand it. The only thing I can remember is that he said that the military wouldn't pay for sexual reassignment surgery. There obviously could be more, but I am curious to see what he said differently than that.
Yeah. So I mean, in terms of
that's fair.
I mean, this is Donald. I mean, are you asking like what did Trump do? I'm sorry. What did Trump do during his presidency, or what did he say on the campaign trail?
Or about? I guess during his presidency. I mean, I guess that's what matters.
So like
the most.
Trump did a couple of things. Like he would direct his Department of Justice, or his Department of Justice at least, would sue different states with pro LGBTQ plus legislation. Donald Trump also signed an executive order. What was that?
Can you elaborate on that? You said sue states with LGBTQ plus legislation, but are you saying that he sued them because of that legislation, or they tried to have that legislation? And he sues them?
They would try to have
So, I
that
mean, that's
legislation
different, right?
blocked and not go into effect, saying that it violated this law or whatever. And I can like pull up an article on a number of different lawsuits they filed if you like.
You're saying like he would sue them on the basis that legislation violated federal law, because obviously he can't.
Right. So yeah, his Department of
inflict
Justice would
state law.
right 100%. Right, exactly. So, and he did this a number of times. The DOJ under Trump did this a number of times. But also, Donald Trump issued an executive order near the end of his presidency, which forced. This doesn't apply to every homeless shelter in America because that's impossible for the president to do. But certain homeless shelters, that a trans woman would not be allowed in a women's shelter. They would have to go to a male shelter, which can be incredibly dangerous for trans women. So kind of just putting them in bad situations. But also Donald Trump doesn't support the Equality Act. So in many states across the country, you can still be evicted from your home, your landlord, if you're gay and they find out. In many states, you can still be fired from your job for being gay and your employer finds out. So this law would have stopped that from happening.
Where?
Donald Trump doesn't support that.
I mean, honestly, I'm just asking where. I've never heard for that. I work for a really big corporation.
Yeah, let me.
I think we're pretty.
Let's see.
I think we're pretty more. I'm not gonna say woke because that's a negative connotation, but I mean, pretty aware of everybody's rights and beliefs and blah blah blah. And I've just never heard of this.
Yeah, I mean, I can hold on. Let me. I'm trying to pull up an updated map. I don't know if how updated I can get for you. So at least
isn't the federal law against anybody with religious disability, blah blah blah, isn't that federally prohibited? Like to discriminate against based off of?
No, I mean for when it comes to LGBTQ plus people, specifically like gay people or trans people, no. There's a lot of protections that don't extend to them: housing, employment, things like that. So this law in question would have changed that. The Equality Act.
Are you sure?
Yeah, 100%.
So you think that in today's society, you can, in certain states or counties, jurisdictions, whatever it is, I can just walk up to somebody and say, man, you're gay, so you're fired.
Yeah, well, for example, if you're somebody's
that doesn't
landlord,
make any sense.
It doesn't. I totally agree. That's exactly right. It doesn't make any sense. But if you're somebody's landlord and you find out that your tenants are LGBTQ plus and that doesn't align with you, you can have them evicted. The reason that this hasn't changed yet is because there are a lot of Republicans still oppose this, saying that it infringes on somebody's right to be religious. That if you're saying that you might be a Catholic renter or landlord, you shouldn't be forced to rent out to people who are LGBTQ plus because it could possibly go against their religion. That's bullshit. So yeah, that's why a lot of these things haven't changed yet.
That's okay. That's interesting. I don't have a news article in front of me to back it up, but I still genuinely don't believe that's all the way true. If you're speaking about evictions, actually, I do have a genuine question.
Sure. What's up?
What about the squatter law?
What are you talking about?
Squatter law, where you can basically just take over someone's domicile and can't be removed, which happens in, the first state that comes to my mind is California, but it happens all over the country now, where people that are living in rental properties that have never signed a contract, they just move in, and as long as they're there for a certain amount of time, then they can't be removed.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know much about this, so I'm probably not the guy to talk to about it. But no, I don't think you should. I don't think you should be able to squat. No.
I did. No, I agree with you. I think that's bullshit. But okay, so I did just look it up. In the United States, you cannot evict somebody for solely being a part of the LGBTQ plus community in any state, and it's illegal to discriminate against someone based off their sexual orientation and their
according to what?
Under the Federal Fair Housing Act.
I mean, we don't have the Equality Act right now. So that's actually, I mean, maybe actually let me bring up law. Maybe I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I want to bring up is I don't know if law is.
Man, I'm not one of those guys. I'm not trying to sit here and say you're.
No, I could be wrong.
That,
I want to make sure that I'm right. I want to make sure I'm right. Let's bring up law. We can ask him.
To me, it looks like it's under the Federal Fair Housing Act protections.
Yeah, I invited him. Let's see if he comes up. He's a lawyer, so I'm going to see if he comes up.
Who? One of your buddies?
No, he's a lawyer. He's a public defender.
No, but I was saying he's one of your buddies.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, I know him. Yeah,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Hey,
What's going on, Law?
living the dream, bud. How about you?
Can't complain. So, what's your verdict here? Am I wrong?
I mean, so you can't, for the purposes of being, you can't list that as the reason for the eviction. But what they typically do is the laws that are getting passed broaden the reasons why somebody can be denied housing applications. And so if they're already there, the FHA prevents you from being evicted. But there's a wide array of reasons why they can deny you for actually getting the lease to begin with.
So there's still like a legal mechanism for somebody to be evicted if they're LGBTQ plus.
Yeah, so
it sounds like to me it would be a workaround. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but it sounds like it would be some workaround that doesn't happen very often, but probably can happen.
Right, but again, that would only apply to like HUD applicable properties. Like if this is somebody who's not getting any federal financing, Section 8 or anything like that, it wouldn't apply to them. So if it's just a private owner who wants to evict somebody, now the person might have some under the lease. If they break the lease early, they might be entitled to some penalties and stuff like that. But landlords, if they're not receiving any federal funds, have broad ability to evict people.
So do you have any more elaboration on that? Because most property is not like Section 8 funded and federally funded, that kind of thing. So I think you were talking about laws under HUD with that specifically, but most rental property is not under that umbrella, I guess. So
yeah, so most rental properties aren't like it. Yeah, so if it's not like a corporation that's renting it, if it's just like a single person, but typically how this manifests is like religious organizations that do housing, they have a workaround with this. Private clubs and things like that, they're not covered by the FHA.
So then who governs private landlords? I mean, just like people like you or me or Harry or whatever it may be that own rental property. Are you saying that we can justify an eviction basically for any reason?
Well, so you could evict somebody. Now you'd be subject to penalties for breaking the lease. You can't say, "Oh, I found out they're not heterosexual, so I'm going to evict them now." So you can the law, subject to penalties, but if you break the lease, you'd be subject to those. It's not an out of the lease, but there's nothing illegal about actually doing it.
Well, yeah. So then it doesn't boil down to their sexual orientation. You can evict anybody for any reason. Like it's in some states, it's a free hire, free fire state. You don't have to have a reason. But to say that they can do it because you're gay is not accurate.
I guess, Harry, can you elaborate more on what the claim was?
Does that make sense?
I was saying that the Equality Act not being passed would allow for people to still be evicted if they're gay or fired if they're gay.
Well, yeah. So what the
No,
Equality
yeah.
Act would do is actually add penalties if you do that. So if that happens, if the landlord and the person who's evicted or gets kicked out of the property can articulate that it was based off of a protected characteristic, it would give them relief on that grounds, not just the breaking the lease grounds, but actually get relief because of the discrimination.
Right, but that would still be the case now. I mean, because federal law prevents the discrimination based off of those things. So you'd have to prove it one way or the other. But that's totally different than just saying, "Oh, I'm evicting this guy because he didn't pay his rent, and he happens to be gay." Like that.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's a workaround around discrimination lawsuit. Somebody gets fired, because it turns out their boss finds out they're gay, and then they say it's work performance. But then if the person can go and prove, hey, I had my last 3 reviews all showed great work performance, they're able to sue their employer now because of the discrimination, not just the termination, but they can recover damages for the discrimination. This would just extend that over to the housing market as well.
Yeah, but you can still evict anybody for any reason. You just can't, on paper, say or get caught saying, "I'm evicting them because I don't like their sexual orientation." So that doesn't really change anything. I mean, you still can't do that. Like in today's world without that act.
I think it's just we're talking about adding protections for people so that there's not the incentive to do that, and that if it could be substantiated, now you're opening up to penalties which don't exist right now. There's no cause of action for that. Your only cause of action would be they broke the lease. And now you can say they broke the lease and it was discrimination, which opens them up to more damages. It was to pass.
Right. So yeah, it's funny. I'm reading these comments. They're saying I'm trying to justify it. I think I'm being very fair, but it doesn't seem that you can just. I mean, I'm not being rude, Harry, but I mean, in the beginning, you said there are some states where you can still do this with no penalty.
Yeah, I guess I was referencing more of a workaround then. I guess I was referencing more of a workaround then. But like in terms of just, you can't just be like, yeah, you're gay, so you're out. But in terms of like a workaround, yeah, and I think that. Still, Donald Trump being against passing the Equality Act, which, as a lot of the Wild was talking about, adds penalties, is like, why would you be against that? That's all.
Yeah.
So anything else you want to discuss, or no?
I don't know. What about owning donkeys as pets?
Don't know. I don't know. Unless
I'm just messing with you.
But anything else?
It's a real ass move.
That's fair.
That's
anything
shit. Else, or you're good?
Well, I know you don't usually do this. What if you ask me a question?
Well, my question to you would just be why you voted for Donald Trump, but that's all.
All right.
Yeah. You can elaborate on that further if you'd like, but.
Man, the problem is I hate to sound like somebody that just typically gets on your show and says lower taxes, better employment, blah, 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 blah. I think my biggest thing would be national security, honestly. Like, I believe we should all pay taxes. And I think that's fair by all means. I like nice roads. I like good schools. I like the things that taxes are supposed to provide for us. I think probably my biggest reason for the vote would be national security.
Okay, so why would Donald Trump be better for national security?
Bottom line, man, I think whether you like him or not, he means what he says. And I think, again, whether you like it or not, there's plenty of times where I've seen on the internet, people are like, this crazy MF will do it, blah, 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 which I disagree with their opinion. But I also say, yeah, he will do it. Now, the basis of it is one thing to debate, but I do think it puts people on more of an overlook, more of a watch to not mess with us. And I'm sure you've got about a dozen different ways to negate that, and that's fine. I'd be happy to talk about them.
Yeah, I mean, like, I always like to reference, Iran attacking us under Donald Trump. Not that that's a good thing, obviously, but that it kind of, the idea that like Donald Trump is so big and scary that countries don't want to mess with him is just not founded in any fact. Iran attacked our allies like Saudi Arabia under us. We, the United States, had more American troops die abroad under Donald Trump in combat than under Joe Biden. So like, and we even have with regarding like Trump's meetings with Putin, we'd have leaders or people that serve with Donald Trump, like Nikki Haley, saying that he got weak in the knees when he met with Putin, or John Bolton saying that Donald Trump got laughed at behind his back by leaders like Putin, like Xi in China, like
but
the
those
Ayatollah in Iran.
People, those are also both people that like your side despised until they went against Trump, and then now y'all.
I still don't like Nikki Haley, and I still don't like John Bolton's views. I still disagree with them on a variety of things.
Right, but you still acknowledge what they say just enough to put it part of this conversation. So prior to that, you would have never quoted anything that they said that was believable or good, blah, blah, blah. But now because they spoke out against Donald Trump, you think it's like something worth quoting.
Yeah, I mean, these are people that Donald Trump hands elected and like put in these positions himself. And they're not, it's not just one person saying this. There are a number of people who Donald Trump, again, handpicked, put in these positions, and they're all saying the same thing, that Donald Trump's like really weak, that he doesn't really know what he's talking about. He has no concept of American history. And that when he meets with these leaders, they don't take him seriously. Like, people are laughing at him. They're not scared of him. So when we have like a variety of people who Donald Trump has appointed, picked, and praised, and they're all saying a similar thing, that like, hey, Donald Trump did X, Y, and Z, or these leaders did X, Y, and Z, things like that, I'm pretty compelled to believe them. And again, the actions of these countries don't signal to us that they're very scared of Donald Trump. Again, if Iran was so scared of us, why would Iran attack us? If they were so scared about the unpredictable Donald Trump, why would they attack us? If all these different groups in the Middle East,
which attack are you talking about?
What?
Which attack?
I believe it was in 2020 or at least late 2019, where there was a American base in, I believe, Iraq, that was drone struck by Iran, where 109 U.S. soldiers got traumatic brain injuries.
And didn't, in response, we struck next to their base, but without hitting them to send a message?
Yeah, I mean, there was a back and forth.
Wasn't that our response?
This all stemmed from Donald Trump taking out one of their military leaders. But the point is that if they're so scared of Donald Trump, if they're terrified of the unpredictable Donald Trump and he's going to do what he says, then why would they retaliate? Why would they retaliate in such a way that could have killed hundreds of American soldiers?
I mean, I don't know how many were stationed at that base, but I can tell you that under Trump's presidency, there was a very low amount of American soldiers that died on the lines, and I'm not making a comparison to him versus Biden, but I don't think it was a whole lot.
But if your argument is that 65 American soldiers to me is a lot dying in combat. But if your argument is that that's really small, then you'd have to argue that Biden's exceptionally smaller number, that being around 16, means that the world is far more fearful of Joe Biden.
Iraq withdrawal?
13 of them were, yeah.
Or I'm sorry, the
Afghanistan, yeah.
What was it? Iraq, Afghanistan withdrawal? Yeah.
Afghanistan, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know if the comparison is to make 16 versus 25 or whatever. 65. I mean, every life matters, obviously. So 65 were killed under Trump?
Yeah, abroad in combat, yep. It just doesn't make, like, the argument that Donald Trump is like so scared around the world, or people are scared of Donald Trump. They're not scared of him like being a big, bad, strong leader. They're scared of him being stupid, right? Of being just incompetent, leading with emotion. And
yeah, but what did he do stupid in his first term?
What did he do? I mean, a variety of things from a national security standpoint, or just generally?
Yeah, I mean, from a national security standpoint, I mean, what new conflicts arose under that term? And again, I'm not saying that he couldn't have piggybacked off Obama. Like, I'm a pretty fair person, but so I'm not trying to sit here and say that, you know, Trump's responsible for all this or Trump accomplished all this. But I mean, I'm just reading the writing on the wall. What new international conflicts arose? that actually materialized into something dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that things got far more heated with Iran, but in terms of like international conflicts arising, I don't think that it's Donald Trump making bad decisions is defined only by international conflicts arising. I think we can look at things like Donald Trump pulling out of the peace deal, or excuse me, the Iran nuclear deal, which has allowed Iran to get closer to a nuclear weapon. And now we're at the point where both President Biden and Donald Trump have considered drone strikes on facilities in Iran that could be producing nuclear weapons. That could have been entirely avoided if Donald Trump just didn't do that. And he did it anyway.
The Iran nuclear deal was a bad deal, right? Because we actually had no legitimate way of monitoring their uranium or their nuclear production.
No, we actually
based
had
off of a handshake, right?
No,
Like
I think it was, and maybe Law of the Wild, maybe he can correct me here, but I believe I think it was the UN, but the UN, to my knowledge, was allowed to go into these facilities and inspect for themselves.
Well,
the energy, gosh, I forget the name of it, but the UNEOC, the Energy Commission.
So yeah, they had unfettered access to all these facilities. They were allowed to inspect for themselves and check. So it wasn't just like, oh yeah, we think you're not going to do this, and there's no enforcement mechanism. The UN was allowed to go in and look.
Are you sure it was unvetted? I'm not so certain about
there
that.
was.
I think there were some stipulations that basically were like, oh, we're supposed to be able to do this.
Yeah, they had to give them like 14 days notice that they were going to inspect.
Yeah,
which
I would say. I mean, come on.
But
I mean, that's like your
notice
landlord
of an
saying you
inspection.
can't have any pets, and then
Wait,
you got a dog, and then you come in.
Yes.
I mean,
Well, I mean, but
I'm saying it on a much more
cameras over every inch of your
simplistic
property.
scale.
Law, say what you're saying, Law.
If your landlord had cameras watching the overhead view of your properties to see exactly what you were doing, that might be a little bit different. But I still think a 14-day notice is better than like no inspections at all.
Well, yeah, for sure.
And my point to you is not
thing that could have been done.
My point to you is not that there wasn't like a notification period of saying like, hey, you have to, or we're going to give you 14 days notice. But it was that there wasn't sites that were off limits for them to evaluate, meaning that they had access to the sites that they wanted to. Obviously, they're like, they can't just walk in whenever they want, right? Obviously.
But yeah, but does that mean it was the best it could have been? I mean,
I'm not sure what you were expecting to be better.
Because we could turn Iran into a parking lot. So I don't understand why we didn't have a better deal with them. No, I get it. Don't make a crazy face.
What are you talking about?
What are you asking? What am I talking about?
You're saying we can turn them into a parking lot. What are you talking about?
I'm talking about if we were trying to be fair, why would the deal that we made originally have not been better?
What's your objection to it?
We give it. They give us a 14, or we give them a 14-day notice. You think that? Do you think that
how do you think that Iran's going to hide? How do you think that Iran's going to hide the machines that are enriching uranium in like 14 days and not have any inspector pick up on any of this?
The same way our own country hides our spies and they hide our intelligence whenever we're working in other countries, whenever we have bases in other countries that are covert.
These are human beings. These are human beings that are like able to, they're trained to be spies and things like that. We're talking about like these massive machines that have to enrich uranium. Like, what do you think? They're just going to like throw an invisibility cloth on it and the inspectors are going to say, oh, everything looks good here.
Yeah, maybe with a 14-day notice.
Okay. Yeah, I believe in invisibility cloaks too, I guess. Sure.
You know that is not what I'm talking about.
I genuinely have no idea what you're
twisting
referencing.
up the words.
Like, are you saying that we should just be able to walk in like whenever we want? I don't think any country would ever agree to that.
Why wouldn't you? If we're monitoring your nuclear weapon production, and we signed a treaty. Why wouldn't we be able to allow to just be showed up?
Talk to
We just
Iran.
show up.
Talk to Iran. But we had no intel. We also have intelligence in Iran. There was no intelligence or anything like that that suggested they were secretly making nuclear weapons under our noses, and the inspectors were missing something. There was no evidence of this.
Man, I guess I gotta, because I've heard you say that before. Like, there's no evidence of this, there is evidence of this. Just like you just said, we're human beings, right? These, like our government, any other country's government, are institutions within. Who are they ran by? They're ran by humans.
Mm-hmm.
There's no perfect solution or setup to anything. So for you to say that there's just no evidence, has there? I don't care if you're talking about Republican or Democrat. Has there never been evidence or misleading, maybe motives about what the government has done? I mean, like we are all ran by humans. So for you to just say there's no evidence, dude, the evidence comes from humans. I mean, like, and for another human like me to doubt the legitimacy of this deal, I don't think that's unreasonable, honestly. I mean, we give you 2 weeks before we come in and
you just have to think about it logically. As Law of the Wild said, we have like these major satellites in space that take photographs like every hour of these countries. And that's how, for example, we were able to see the huge buildup along the Ukrainian border with Russia prior to their invasion. That's how we knew it was taking place, because there was this huge invasion. So like, your argument is that somehow magically they have factories under the ground, I guess, where they have these facilities and they're enriching uranium, and inspectors have no knowledge of this. They're keeping it from us, and we have no intelligence to suggest this. Our intelligence community, both around the world, not only the United States, but Great Britain, and then specifically in the Middle East, like Israel, for example, have no knowledge of this whatsoever. It was completely under their noses, and Iran was ignoring the deal entirely. And even if the inspectors did find out about it, they were somehow able to remove these huge machines that are enriching uranium out and not have any trace of it. You just got to think about this critically. There's, of course, if you're dealing with people like Iran and enemies of the United States, being skeptical is great of what they say. I'm totally there with you. Like when Putin speaks, I tend to believe the opposite of what Putin is saying. I think it's a good rule of thumb. But when it comes to a deal like this, where there's different countries involved and the UN, I don't think there's any reason to. Go ahead.
Yeah, but also like Iran, it's a sovereign country. Like this was a cooperative agreement. We don't have the authority to just say, fuck you guys, we're coming when we want. This was an agreement that was reached with the IAEA and the IAEA said that, hey, if they're trying to refine this uranium, we can detect it. Like they bring in this detection equipment, they can tell if it's the type of high grade uranium, if it's been anywhere in the facility for weeks and weeks after. So having a notification period didn't absolve them of that. But also, like, if the cops called you up and said, hey, we don't know if you're doing anything wrong, but we're going to come inspect your house in 2 weeks, you'd probably tell them to just go fuck off, right? It's your house.
Right.
Right, but
we're not talking about.
We're not talking about. Yeah, if you were in the interest of trying to build a stronger, relationship, and you were like, hey, you think that I'm doing bad things, I'll let you come in. Just give me a heads up ahead of time. You're still kind of setting the ground. And you're letting, I'm not saying that that's anything you would do, but I think it just goes to show that having some form of cooperation and monitoring is better than having nothing at all.
I agree with that. The only thing I'll say is that as large and powerful as we are, and we know that Iran's motives are not good, why is that what we settled with? That's my question. I mean, yeah, somewhat cooperation's good. It's better to get yellow on your behavior sticker in school than it is red. But why is that what we're settling with?
But I mean, also built into the agreement was if there were violations, that there would be more frequent inspections and more oversight, and they just didn't detect any violations. So I certainly don't have any trust for Iran, but I also don't think we can just go to a sovereign country and say, you know what, we don't like it, we're going to do it the way that we want. There has to be some sort of cooperation with them, and maybe we could work out a better deal. But there's nothing that stops you from getting a better deal while you're still operating under the new one. Like if you wanted to negotiate a better lease with your landlord, you're not going to, just, leave the house and then hope that you come back and get a better lease at another time. You can work on your next agreement while the current one's in place.
Yeah, but we didn't have a deal with them before, correct? It was a back and forth for years until this deal was reached. And I don't know if there's anything wrong with saying that this deal was bad, whether you like Trump or not. It was terminated, and we'd rather something better. So what is bad about that? It wasn't a good deal. I mean, there's Democrats and Republicans alike will say it was not a great deal. It was a deal. It was not a great deal. But I think sitting here saying, "Oh, we're going to blame Trump for pulling out of this," I don't know if that's the appropriate reaction.
Or I just don't understand what our leverage is over them. We already sanctioned them to hell. If the options are getting a bad deal and trying to bring them into the fold of the of the global community, and then trying to work out a better deal, and especially if they'd ended up violating it, then there was hell to pay. But right now we have no evidence to show that they're developing anything, and we're just saying he's saying it's a bad deal and he could negotiate a better one, but he won't tell us what the better deal is or how he intends to get them to agree to it.
Yeah, but the scope of this deal, the monitoring was poor. I mean, it was limited, and the sites that they could that the United States could inspect, and it was not all of their sites. Just that in itself is ridiculous. I mean, if you're gonna sit here and tell me that you're at 123 Main Street, this is where we're gonna inspect, but you're not allowed to inspect 234 B Street, then why would I have any on this side of it? Why would I have any repercussions about it? They explicitly told us in the deal there are sites you're not allowed to go to that are directly involved in nuclear production. So I don't understand how it was a great deal.
But from what I understand it, the equipment to actually refine the materials that they would need in any sort of measurable quantity, we're talking about acres and acres of equipment. So it's not like we needed access to every foot locker and every little spot. We were really only interested in the places that could manufacture high grade uranium in quantities that would pose a threat to the international community.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, I don't want to upset y'all's followers.
Oh, dude, don't worry about that.
Apparently, I'm boring. I guess they like screaming arguments. I was just trying to be reasonable, but that's fine.
You can approach the conversation however you'd like.
You're good.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, we'll leave it there.
All right, man. I'm gonna send you a message.
All right, man. Sounds good. I'll try to take a look.
Okay. Y'all have a good
one. Kate, thanks for the $2. Kate and Beth heart you. Kate and Beth, I heart you back. I appreciate you being here. Shout out Kate and Beth. Now, this is Kate and Beth have supported the. Oh, wait, there's another one. Bethany, thanks for the $1. Kate and Beth heart you. There's two of them. both of you. You guys have been in the live before. I appreciate it. Cass, thanks for the $5. Can you ask him where I can find this nuclear speakeasy? Coolest bar ever. The nuclear speakeasy that's hidden under the ground. It's news to me. Texas, thanks for the $5. I worked in property management for many years and know the laws. This info is wrong. This was 25 minutes ago, so I don't know specifically what you're referencing is wrong. Maybe comment. That'd be helpful. Karis, thanks for the $1. Harry, I just need you to know that in this dark world, your presence is a warm light of hope. Listening to you gives me a sense of comfort and safety, knowing that people like me are still seen and cared for. Thanks for all the love. You're treasured, my friend. Karis, you're treasured. You kidding me? The fact that you're here, still persevering, still fighting, so admirable. And you inspire me along with so many other people. I appreciate you. Sid, thanks for the $10. We have you screen mirrored on the TV while drinking tonight, Harry. Max and I love you for real, for real. You tell Max I appreciate him being here as well. It's very kind. It's very kind. Alexander, thanks for the 10 cents. Hey, Harry, love what you stand for. Just wanted to ask a question. Will you still be doing debates if TikTok is banned? And if so, where? There's also a fake Harry Sisson on Venmo, which I actually donated to last time and tried to donate. So you should probably report him. I've tried reporting them. So I always recommend the people, for me, Parker, Dean, Chris, whoever it might be, Law, go to the Venmo, Cash App, PayPal links in our bios. It takes you directly to the real account. If you just look it up, like people have impersonator accounts, it's easy to fall for it. So, and I've tried reporting them. They haven't done anything. But yeah, definitely still doing debates, probably on YouTube. Ali, thanks for the $1. My team Harry era was short-lived. I've come back to my senses. I won't stand for this Chris slander. Love you though, I guess. I'm gonna slander Chris. I'm gonna slander Chris. He's not here. I actually don't know what Chris is doing right now. Trish, thanks for the $25 as well for my nightly donation for dealing with crazies. They are crazy, and it's difficult to deal with them, but folks like you make it easier, Trish. Penelope, thanks for the $1. After the debate luck, I got 6th in varsity. Congratulations. That's amazing. You did great. You should be very proud of yourself. Rachel, thanks for the $1 in PayPal. Hey, Harry, what is your username on Twitch? I just signed up. It's Harry J. Sisson, same as my TikTok username. I'm going to throw the link in my bio in a couple days, but yeah. Ivy, thanks for the $3. Hey, Harry, much love from the Resistance. May you please change the theme of the group chat? Pretty please will love you forever. Yeah, what do you want it to be? I'll change it. Deborah, thanks for the $1. Please don't. What's your username? I don't know what it is. I can't. I'll check, but I don't know what your username is. Aaron, thanks for the 50 cents. Do we get pet content tonight? I'm no longer with them. So no more. Sophia, thanks for the $5. Got accepted into Seton Hill Uni yesterday with a scholarship for biochem and a minor in forensics. Jeez, you're smart. Congratulations. That's amazing. That's fantastic. Law, do you have anybody to read out?
I do not.
Okay.
But what I do want is everybody to do some tapping here. Harry's got 3.1 thousand. We're only at 300,000 likes. If everybody could fill up the bar 2 times, and Kicks, you need to fill up the bar 4 times because you always complain about that. You get a cool little confetti bomb, and that'll get Harry over 500,000 nice and easy. Thank you.
Law, I hate to break your heart, but I'm leaving.
Well, of course you are. You brought me up, so that's all
right. So I'm leaving now. Right. No, unfortunately, I know I was about to announce this. I know that people are going to be very upset. I know. But here's the thing. First of all, it's Peloton. Are you kidding me? I got to go Peloton. But second of all, I haven't lifted in like 2 or 3 weeks because I haven't been near a gym. So I'm really excited to go lift. So it's a long workout tonight. We're going to do like 2 hours. Peloton for 45, then lift for an hour 15. I'm just really excited to lift. So I'm going to go do that now. And I want to make sure I'm still awake enough to do it.
How much is Peloton paying you?
0. Peloton, call me. I'll take a sponsorship.
You mention them like every single night. Like
I know it's like free advertising at this point.
Sponsorship deal out of this.
I know.
I'll call their people. We'll work something out.
Yeah, exactly. Let's you call that. We'll call me. We'll talk about it. Maybe I'll just start referencing it as the stationary bike to not give them free promoting. I don't know.
There you go. Yeah, let's put a pause on it until we can boost their sales.
Yeah, that's right. Well, anyway, Law, apologies for the short-lived conversation.
It's quite all right. I appreciate any time I can come up and nerd out with you. So you have
man. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming up, and we'll talk soon. Yeah. Thanks, Mom. Sorry, everybody. I think I just got somebody on PayPal, or not PayPal. Sorry. I think Venmo. Let me just make sure. Christian, thanks for the $10 in the hand heart. I appreciate you. And Margot, thanks for the $2. Harold, I go by Max. My friend Sid sent a Venmo earlier. Well, Max, good to see you. Just wanted to say I'm in love with you, and I use they, them pronouns just in case it comes around again. Thank you for informing me of that. I really appreciate that. And yes, absolutely. And thank you so much for your support. It really means the world to me. It's incredibly kind that you're here and supporting. Goes a long way. And Jennifer, thanks for the $10. At this point, my minuscule amount to show my support. Are you kidding me? Minuscule? It's not minuscule at all. Your support it means so much. It's becoming a habit along with watching you inform the uneducated and misinformed. Truly your breath of fresh air. As always, thanks for what you do. Jennifer, oh God, Jennifer. I love Jennifer. She's so nice. Jennifer's always here supporting. So thank you everybody for being here and supporting the live. Man, I'm so excited to go lift. Just really excited. Really excited. So I'm going to go do that now. I knew I had a short live coming in tonight, but I still wanted to get on. I thought that getting on would be better than nothing. So I got on anyway, even if it was only for an hour and 30 or 2 hours or whatever it is. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, go rate these people. Dan Malik Politics, Manda Rose. They're doing debate lives right now. If you want to go check it out, they're doing lives. yeah, go say hi. Go say hi to Dan for me specifically. Go say Harry Ray to Dan. Tell him that we say hi. We appreciate him, and that we'll be around. All right, everybody. Sorry for the short live. Hopefully we'll be back tomorrow, and I appreciate you so very much. You're amazing, and I love you. All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll talk soon.